Basically, there's confusion that's sown by people who speak on these subjects because they don't know how to syncretize words like Phoenicians, Punic. How many times have you heard people not know or maybe not, if people don't really talk about this that much, but I've heard a lot of people confuse like Punic, Phoenician. They say it like it's different things. So what I wanted to do is give you a quick rundown and how the same word looks different in different languages. Mm-hmm. So you have this gentleman he was British born, but he lived in Ireland. His name's Valency, and this is like the 1600s or 1700s. He noted that the Irish had like two alphabets. They had the Boboloth, and it's just named after the first like couple letters. They had the Boboloth, which is a profane alphabet of the Irish Druids, and that was similar to Punic or Phoenician. But then Higgins thought the Irish language Beth Louis Neon came by Gaul through Britain to Ireland, while the Boboloth came to Ireland through the Straits of Gibraltar. But both are similar enough to be the same system. And according to Monsignor Gebelin, the Carthaginian, which is also called the Sicilian Phoenician, and the Basque, which is the Spanish, called the Spanish Phoenician, they're the exact same alphabets. So it doesn't matter how they came, whether it's through Gaul by land or around Strait of Gibraltar, they're both the same alphabets. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is I'm going to write a word. I don't know if you recall one of the quotes I just read, but I'm not going to tell you right away, but you'll see it after this. I'm going to write it in 3 different languages. You tell me which language looks the oldest, and then I'll tell you what it means if you can figure it out. Okay. Which one of those looks the oldest to you, if you had to guess? No pressure.
I would have to say the top. The top looks the oldest to me because it's almost the simplest of them. And my mind just goes, whatever's the simplest is the oldest.
And that's practicality. So that's not true. I tricked you. This is the Etruscan. This is the Phoenician. And this is Hebrew.
Yeah.
So this is P, Pe. This is Vav, which would be like a U. This is Nun, which would be like an N. And this is the Yud, which is like an I. So it would look like puny. Now, if you recall that quote, remember he said in the tables, if he said if it refers to the Etruscans, they were puni. Well, this puni refers to things that are purple, whether it's mead, whether it's togas or like cloaks. Mm-hmm. It'll have that root in it. So in Latin, it's called puni, right? So that ligature, that OE ligature, Ni. And then in Greek, it would be pony, right? But then they add the ke so this eta. Remember how in your name it looks like an H, but it acts sometimes like an I. So it'd be finicky. Right? Remember Finish. Saying in the beginning, punny, puni, right? Uh-huh. But it's all purple. They're purple, but it's phony. It's all the same. Now, that P and F interchange, right? So when you look at like something like that, this pe right here, that's a P or an F. And they had to create the vowel system to show people whether or not they'd have to pronounce that. So sometimes you'll see it, it's like pharaoh, PH. Sometimes it's like an pig, hard pig. So you already pretty much guessed it. So you have pony or puni, which is how the Irish pronounced Phoenicians, which was Feni. Fenians.
So to call somebody puny, was that like a derogatory, like, can we look at that as like a?
Nope. It's just the word purple. And so what I suspect is who's able to wear purple? royalty.
Royalty, yeah.
So if you look at this, this is where it gets kind of interesting. So the P in Phoenician looks like that. The P in Etruscan, sorry, excuse me, I just messed this up. The R in Phoenician, the resh. So in Hebrew, it would look like this. It almost looks like a right angle. In Phoenician, it's, I'll label it Phoenician. That would be an R. In Etrurian, it looks like this. Looks kind of like a D with a little bit. So that's Etrurian. Sorry, I'm having trouble writing with this. And then in Greek, the R looks like a P, RP. It's called rho, Greek. So Punic, in an occult way, is runic, right? Because that's R. So then you have the word rune is runo, which looks like this. Their R actually looks like an R. That's an N, and then their O looks like that. Now,
that
what's
looks
interesting?
Norse.
It is Norse.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. And keep in mind, the runes are not. They're not a language. They are an alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
The language is going to be like a more Germanic, but it's to show people that when you see all these interchange, right? Even the Fenians, right? Feni. Well, the Vav, which is like a W, right? Vav or Wow. It's sometimes in Phoenician they spell it like that. It looks like a Y, right? But it acts like an F, a U, a V, a Y, or a W. And so you have in the Norse runes, their P is a W. Onja, that's what it's called. And so it all circles back to Punic, because if you were to even write Punic with that, the W is also the F, Fenian. It's all the same root. And so that also acts like a V, and then you get Venetians.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same word, all stemming from Puni, which is purple.
Mm.
So I just showed you that in like, what, 6, 7 different alphabets, because going back to the Di Pelagi, the holy sailors, they were called so because of the use of letters. And where does this come from? I don't know for sure, but it looks like they came out of whatever Egypt was. And the reason I don't know what Egypt is because I think the Rosetta Stone is forgery, because there's 3 of them. And I didn't know this until fairly recently in my life, the Rosetta Stones. And all of them go from Egyptian hieroglyphs to Greek.
Mm-hmm.
They don't translate them in Phoenician or any older languages. And my question would be why? And I think because the hieroglyphs are Greek. They are not as old as the old structures. If the structures are legitimate, I think whatever Egypt was, we have no idea. And all the stories we think we know, we have no idea, because it's all based on all these Greek stuff, all these Greek symbols and all these Greek hieroglyphs, right? Even hieroglyph, that's Greek. Hiero,
Right.
sacred.